The night is quiet over the Nile. A warm breeze drifts across dark water that moves almost without a sound. The river reflects a sky full of distant stars. Along the muddy banks, rows of simple homes rest beneath the night. Their walls are made from sun-dried brick. Their roofs are flat and pale beneath the moonlight. Most people are asleep now. The fires have grown dim. The ovens that baked bread through the day have cooled. Dogs rest beside doorways. A few tired donkeys stand motionless in small enclosures. Somewhere far away, a night bird calls across the darkness. The ancient world feels very still. And as the river continues its slow journey through Egypt, families sleep close together on woven mats. Workers rest aching muscles after long days beneath the sun. Children sleep beside parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, and relatives. Tonight, we gently enter their world. Not the world of kings. Not the world of grand temples. Not the world of famous names carved into stone. Instead, we step softly into the lives of ordinary children. Children whose names were rarely written down. Children who woke before sunrise. Children who worked, carried, fetched, learned, waited, grew older, and slowly passed into adulthood without anyone marking the moment with a celebration. For many people in the ancient world, childhood was not seen as a special stage of life. It existed, certainly. Parents loved their children. Families worried about them. Mothers protected them. Fathers taught them. But childhood itself was often viewed differently than it is today. There were no birthdays marked with cakes and candles. No special parties announcing that a child had reached a certain age. No carefully planned celebrations of growing up. Life moved forward quietly. The seasons changed. The river rose and fell. Children simply became older. And one day, almost without noticing, they became adults. The night air remains warm as we begin our journey. Far down the Nile, long before sunrise, a small village sleeps beneath the stars. The homes stand close together. Their mud brick walls still hold some of the day's heat. Inside one of these houses, a family sleeps on mats spread across a hard floor. The room is simple. There are baskets for grain, clay jars for water, a few wooden tools, a low table, perhaps a small oil lamp, now extinguished. Near the wall sleeps a young boy. He may be 7 years old. Or perhaps 8. No one is entirely certain. Exact ages are often difficult to know. His parents likely do not keep track in the way people would many centuries later. They remember roughly when he was born. They remember the flooding season. They remember the harvest that followed. They remember the year a certain official visited the village. Time is measured through events. Not through birthday parties. Not through annual celebrations. The boy sleeps peacefully. Tomorrow he will rise before dawn. Tomorrow he will help. Because helping is already becoming part of his life. Outside, the river continues flowing beneath the stars. The first pale light of morning slowly approaches. A rooster calls. Another answers. The village begins to wake. Adults rise first. Then children. The boy opens his eyes. The air is already warm. His mother is awake. She begins preparing grain for bread. Her hands move with practiced skill. She has repeated these motions thousands of times. Grinding. Mixing. Kneading. Waiting. The work begins before the sun appears. Much of ancient life follows this rhythm. The day starts early because the heat grows powerful later. Children learn this rhythm from the beginning. They do not sit apart from adult life. They live inside it. The boy helps carry water. He helps move baskets. He follows instructions. At first, his tasks are small. But each year they become larger. Nobody gathers the family to announce this change. Nobody declares a special ceremony. Responsibility arrives gradually. Almost silently. Like sunlight creeping across a floor. His mother may tell him he is becoming strong. His father may hand him heavier tools. Older relatives may expect more from him. Yet there is no single day when childhood officially ends. The transition is slow. So slow that many people probably never notice it happening. The village grows brighter as dawn spreads across the horizon. Workers leave their homes. Farmers walk toward the fields. Fishermen prepare nets. Merchants organize goods. The boy follows his father down a dusty path. Sandals brush softly against packed earth. The Nile glitters nearby. The river gives life to everything around them. Its waters nourish crops. Its floods bring fertile soil. Its channels support villages and towns stretching far into the distance. For children growing up here, the river is always present. Its sounds. Its smells. Its movement. The boy watches adults work. He learns without formal lessons. Knowledge often passes through observation. Children see. Children imitate. Children repeat. A father repairs tools. A son watches. A mother shapes bread. A daughter watches. An older brother ties ropes. A younger brother watches. Learning becomes woven into daily life. No celebration marks the first successful attempt. No applause follows. Skills simply become part of a person's growing responsibilities. The sun climbs higher. Heat begins gathering over the fields. Workers sweat beneath bright skies. Children help where they can. Some chase birds away from crops. Some carry supplies. Some watch animals. Others run errands between adults. The tasks vary. The expectations vary. Yet one pattern appears again and again. Children slowly enter the adult world through work. Not all at once. Not through ceremonies. But through countless ordinary days. A little more responsibility each season. A little more trust each year. The process is quiet. The process is gradual. The process rarely receives celebration. Near midday, the heat becomes heavy. The earth seems to shimmer. Workers seek moments of shade whenever possible. Children do the same. Many sit beside walls or beneath simple shelters. The air feels thick and still. Dust hangs motionless. Somewhere nearby, bread bakes inside clay ovens. Its smell drifts through the village. Families eat simple meals. Bread. Vegetables. Fish when available. Dates. Onions. Perhaps beans. The food is practical. Designed to sustain long hours of labor. Children eat alongside adults. There are no separate worlds. No special childhood spaces. Life is shared. Responsibilities are shared. Even hardships are shared. This reality shapes how childhood is understood. A child is not viewed entirely apart from society. A child is viewed as someone gradually preparing to join it fully. Afternoon arrives. The sunlight softens slightly. The village continues working. Merchants travel roads lined with dust. Boats drift along waterways. Craftsmen labor inside workshops. Children move through these environments every day. Many begin assisting skilled workers at surprisingly young ages. A carpenter's son may learn the smell of fresh cut wood before he can read. A potter's daughter may understand clay long before adulthood. Knowledge enters life through participation. Not through formal milestones. Not through celebrations. The years pass. The boy who carried small baskets begins carrying larger ones. His hands become stronger. His shoulders broaden. His voice slowly changes. Nobody pauses village life to acknowledge every step. The river still rises. The river still falls. The seasons continue. Life remains busy. And so childhood quietly slips away. Far away, in larger towns, another child experiences a different version of the same process. The town is crowded. Narrow streets twist between homes and workshops. The sounds of labor fill the air. Hammering. Sawing. Grinding grain. Animals calling. Merchants negotiating. The smells mingle together. Fresh bread. Dust. Smoke. River water. Human activity. A young girl wakes before sunrise. Her family lives above a workshop. The rooms are small. Space is precious. Every member of the household contributes somehow. She helps prepare food. She helps clean. She helps care for younger children. At first, the tasks are simple. Later, they become more important. No celebration announces the change. Nobody gathers neighbors to witness it. Responsibility arrives naturally. One task becomes two. Two become five. Five become many. Years pass. And the child becomes a young woman. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Simply through living. The ancient world often moved this way. Quietly. Gradually. Almost invisibly. As evening approaches, workers return home. The heat begins fading. The sky turns gold. Then orange. Then deep blue. Families gather for meals. Conversations drift through open doorways. Children listen. Adults discuss crops. Taxes. Repairs. Trade. Weather. River levels. The concerns of daily survival. Young ears absorb these discussions. Little by little, children begin understanding adult responsibilities. The lessons arrive naturally. No formal graduation marks the moment. No ceremony announces readiness. Knowledge accumulates through years of observation. The stars return. The village grows quieter. Oil lamps flicker. Families settle into sleep. And somewhere inside a simple mud brick house, another child dreams. Perhaps he imagines fishing boats. Perhaps fields of grain. Perhaps future journeys along the Nile. He does not know exactly when adulthood will arrive. Neither do his parents. Because in his world, growing up is not a single event. It is a long road. A dusty road walked one ordinary day at a time. And while kings build monuments far away, while scribes record taxes and harvests, while priests perform rituals in great temples, countless children quietly move toward adulthood without celebration. Their lives unfold beneath the same sun. Beside the same river. Within the same routines. One season follows another. One year follows another. And childhood slowly passes like water flowing through the Nile beneath a silent night sky. The Nile continues its slow journey through the darkness. Long after the voices of the village have faded, the river remains awake. Water slips gently past reeds that bend in the night breeze. Small waves touch the muddy shore. The stars above seem almost endless, scattered across the sky like grains of bright sand. Inside the sleeping houses, families rest together. The air is warm. The walls hold traces of the day's heat. Children sleep deeply after long hours spent helping, learning, carrying, fetching, and watching the adults around them. For a little while, the burdens of the day disappear. Only the quiet remains. Then, little by little, morning begins again. The first light arrives softly over the eastern horizon. The darkness thins. Shapes emerge from shadows. Palm trees stand motionless against the growing brightness. Birds begin calling from rooftops and riverbanks. Another day is waiting. For children in ancient Egypt, days often felt very similar to one another. The rhythm of life was steady, predictable, comforting in some ways, demanding in others. The river rose and fell. Fields were planted and harvested. Bread was baked. Water was carried. Animals were fed. Homes were repaired. And children slowly found their place within all of it. A young boy wakes on a woven mat beside his brothers. His eyes adjust to the dim morning light entering through a doorway. He hears his mother already moving about the house. The sound of grinding grain echoes softly from one corner of the room. Stone against stone. A sound heard countless times throughout Egypt. A sound so common that many children probably stopped noticing it altogether. Yet it was one of the sounds that shaped their lives. The boy stretches. His muscles are still growing. His hands are still small. But they are no longer the hands of a baby. Already they are becoming the hands of a worker. Already they carry marks from daily tasks. Small scratches. Calluses. Dust. Signs of participation in the life of the household. His father steps outside into the cool morning air. The boy follows. The village is waking. Smoke begins rising from cooking fires. Donkeys shuffle in their pens. Neighbors greet one another. The day has begun. No one speaks about childhood ending. No one points to a calendar. No one marks a special occasion. Life simply continues forward. And within that movement, children slowly change. One year they watch. The next year they help. Then one day they are expected to know. The change is almost invisible. Across Egypt, many children experienced this gradual shift. The details differed from place to place. But the pattern often remained the same. Responsibility expanded slowly. Like the spreading light of dawn. A young girl living near the riverbank rises early as well. She helps her mother prepare the morning meal. The work requires patience. Grain must be ground. Dough must be shaped. Fire must be tended carefully. The smell of fresh bread begins filling the room. Warm. Comforting. Familiar. She has watched this process since she was very small. At first she simply observed. Then she handed over tools. Then she learned individual steps. Now she performs many of them herself. Nobody announced this transition. It happened through repetition. Thousands of small moments joining together. The girl may not even remember when she first became responsible for certain tasks. One day she simply realized they belonged to her. Outside, the village road begins filling with movement. Farmers walk toward fields carrying tools. Fishermen head toward the water. Merchants prepare goods for market. Children move among them. Some carry baskets. Some drive animals. Some deliver messages. Some assist family members. Their days are not separated from adult life. They are woven directly into it. The distinction between child and adult exists. Of course it does. Children are recognized as young. They are protected when possible. They are guided. They are taught. Yet the path toward adulthood remains gradual. Without clear boundaries. Without formal celebrations for each step. The morning sun rises higher. Soon the cool air disappears. Heat begins settling across the landscape. Fields stretch green beside the river. Beyond them lies the desert. A vast world of sand and stone. The contrast is striking. Life clustered tightly around the Nile. Everything depended upon its waters. Children understood this from an early age. They watched adults discuss the river constantly. Its flood levels. Its timing. Its gifts. Its dangers. The Nile shaped childhood just as surely as it shaped agriculture. When the flood waters arrived, routines changed. Fields disappeared beneath water. Travel shifted. Work adapted. Entire communities adjusted their schedules. Children learned these patterns naturally. No classroom was required. The landscape itself became a teacher. A young boy accompanies his father to inspect irrigation channels. The father walks slowly, studying water flow. The son follows close behind. He listens. Sometimes questions are asked. Sometimes they are not. Many lessons occur in silence. Observation matters. Attention matters. The father points toward a section of damaged earth. The boy nods. He understands. Repair work will be needed. The knowledge seems simple. Yet it is part of something larger. The gradual transfer of experience from one generation to the next. This process rarely involves ceremonies. It happens through countless ordinary mornings. The sun climbs. Workers continue laboring. Sweat gathers on foreheads. Dust clings to skin. The smell of warm earth fills the air. Children work beside adults when necessary. Some tasks remain beyond their strength. Others do not. A child might spend hours scaring birds from grain fields. The work sounds simple. Yet under the hot sun, even simple work can become exhausting. The hours pass slowly. Birds return again and again. The child waves them away. Repeats the effort. Repeats it once more. The labor teaches patience. It teaches endurance. No celebration follows. The lesson itself is considered enough. Meanwhile, in a larger town farther north, another child sits inside a crowded workshop. The room is warm. Sunlight enters through narrow openings. Dust floats through bright beams of light. The smell of wood fills the air. Craftsmen work steadily around him. Their tools create rhythms of scraping and tapping. The boy watches closely. For years he has observed these movements. At first they seemed mysterious. Now they are beginning to make sense. His hands imitate the motions. Not perfectly. Not yet. But improvement comes little by little. The adults notice. Perhaps they offer a brief nod. Perhaps a small word of approval. That may be all. There is no celebration announcing mastery. No public recognition. Just the quiet understanding that another skill is taking root. Outside, life continues flowing through the streets. Merchants call to customers. Animals pull carts. Workers carry loads across crowded roads. The city breathes with activity. Children grow within that activity. Every day adds something new. Every season changes them slightly. And slowly, almost without realizing it, they move farther from early childhood. The ancient Egyptians understood that life was uncertain. Illness could appear unexpectedly. Injuries happened. Harvests sometimes disappointed. Floods varied from year to year. Because of this uncertainty, survival often required every member of a household to contribute. Childhood therefore carried practical responsibilities. These responsibilities were not always harsh. Many children undoubtedly laughed, played, explored, and enjoyed companionship. Yet work remained close at hand. Duties existed alongside moments of freedom. The balance shifted gradually as children aged. A 6-year-old might have only a few expectations. A 10-year-old might have many more. A teenager might already be performing tasks nearly identical to those of adults. The transition lacked sharp edges. It unfolded like a long sunrise. Near midday, the heat becomes intense. The streets grow quieter. Workers search for shade. Even animals slow their movements. The air feels heavy. Almost motionless. Children sit beneath awnings or beside walls. Some share pieces of bread. Others drink water from clay vessels. The simple act of resting becomes precious. In these moments, families gather briefly. Conversations drip through the still air. Adults discuss practical matters. Repairs. Crops. Trade. River conditions. Taxes. Children listen. Whether intentionally or not, they absorb the concerns of adulthood. The lessons continue even during rest. Knowledge enters through everyday life. There is rarely a formal moment when someone declares a child ready for the future. Instead, readiness develops gradually. One responsibility at a time. One season at a time. As afternoon stretches onward, shadows begin lengthening. The worst heat slowly fades. Activity returns. Workshops resume their steady rhythms. Farmers continue laboring. Boats move along the river. The Nile glimmers beneath sunlight. Children help finish the day's tasks. A young girl carries water jars. She balances carefully. The jars are heavier now than those she carried years ago. Nobody announces this fact. Nobody gathers neighbors to witness her growing strength. Yet everyone notices in quiet ways. Her mother asks for more help. Her father relies on her judgment more often. Younger siblings follow her example. These subtle changes reveal something important. In many ancient communities, adulthood was not granted suddenly. It was recognized gradually. Trust expanded little by little. Expectations increased little by little. The child became an adult through participation. Through repetition. Through experience. Evening arrives once more. The sky softens into shades of gold and rose. A cooling breeze moves across the river. The village begins settling after another long day. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Families prepare simple meals. The smell of baking bread drifts through narrow streets. Children return home tired. Dust covers their feet. Their hands show signs of work completed. They eat with parents and relatives. They listen to stories. They hear conversations. They become part of the household's shared life. Above them, the first stars begin appearing. One by one. Quietly. Much like the years themselves. Childhood does not disappear in a single moment. It fades gradually. Almost gently. like daylight leaving the Nile at dusk. A young boy who once followed adults everywhere now walks confidently on his own. A girl who once watched bread being prepared now teaches younger siblings the process. The changes are real. Yet they arrive so slowly that they can hardly be seen while they are happening. The river continues flowing. The seasons continue turning. The children continue growing. And somewhere beneath the vast Egyptian sky, another ordinary evening settles across the land as countless young lives move one step closer to adulthood, carried forward by routine, responsibility, family, and the quiet passage of time. The evening settles softly over the Nile. The last light of day lingers for a while upon the water. Gentle ripples catch the fading glow and carry it downstream. Palm trees stand dark against the horizon. The air remains warm, though the fierce heat of the afternoon has finally loosened its grip. Across the villages and towns of Egypt, families gather near their homes. Cooking fires burn low. Clay ovens release the final warmth of the day. The smell of bread drifts through narrow pathways between mud-brick walls. Children sit among parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, cousins, and neighbors. The day's work is mostly finished. For now. A young boy leans against the wall of his family's house. His legs are tired. His shoulders ache slightly. Today he carried water. He helped repair a fence. He spent hours walking behind his father through fields near the river. Dust still clings to his sandals. His hands are rougher than they were a year ago. Not much rougher. Just enough that his mother notices when she passes him a piece of bread. She smiles softly. Perhaps she remembers when those hands were very small. Perhaps she remembers carrying him through these same streets. Perhaps she remembers nights when he could barely walk. Yet no one speaks of childhood ending. No one announces that he has crossed into some new stage of life. The changes happen quietly. They happen inside ordinary days. And ordinary days are what fill most of human history. The stars begin appearing above the village. One star. Then another. Then many more. The sky over ancient Egypt could be breathtaking on clear nights. Far from modern lights, darkness settled deeply over the land. The heavens stretched endlessly overhead. Children grew up beneath these skies. They learned the patterns of stars just as they learned the patterns of the river. Night after night. Year after year. Many children fell asleep listening to the sounds of their communities settling into silence. A distant dog barking. A donkey shifting its weight. Voices fading. Wind moving through reeds. Water flowing quietly nearby. These sounds became part of memory. Part of growing up. Part of life. Inside another house, a young girl helps prepare sleeping mats. The room is simple. The floor is hard-packed earth. Clay jars line one wall. Baskets hang from wooden pegs. A small oil lamp flickers gently. Its light dances across the room. The shadows move slowly. She works beside her mother. Neither speaks very much. Words are not always necessary. The routine is familiar. Comforting. Repeated countless times. The girl has performed these tasks for years now. At first she needed guidance. Now she knows exactly what to do. No ceremony marked the change. No celebration recognized the moment when she stopped being a helper and became someone others relied upon. The shift happened gradually. One evening at a time. The lamp burns quietly. Outside, the village grows still. Sleep comes early for many families because work begins early. Before long, the house falls silent. And while the family rests, Time continues its patient work. Children grow even while they sleep. Seasons pass. Years pass. The Nile rises and falls again. Far to the south, dawn begins arriving over another settlement. The sky slowly brightens. Birds awaken among the reeds. Mist hangs low above the river. For a few brief moments, everything feels calm and cool. Soon the sun will rise. Soon labor will begin again. But for now, the world feels peaceful. A young fisherman stands beside his father near the riverbank. The boy is no longer quite a child. Not yet fully a man. Something in between. His father prepares fishing nets. The ropes feel familiar in the boy's hands. He has touched them since he was small. He understands their weight, their texture, their smell. He knows how to untangle them, how to repair them, how to cast them. Years of observation have become skill. Years of practice have become knowledge. Nobody held a celebration when he learned these things. The lessons came slowly. One morning blending into the next. One season blending into another. The river itself seems to teach patience. Nothing happens quickly. The water moves steadily. The current never rushes. Ancient life often followed a similar rhythm. Children became adults the same way rivers shape stone. Slowly. Quietly. Almost invisibly. The boat pushes away from shore. Morning light spreads across the water. The village behind them grows smaller. The day begins. Elsewhere, in a larger town, another child starts a different routine. The streets are already busy. Merchants arrange goods beneath awnings. Workers carry baskets through narrow lanes. Donkeys move steadily through crowded spaces. The smell of fresh bread mixes with dust and smoke. A young apprentice enters a workshop. The room is dim. Thick walls help block some of the heat. Sunlight filters through narrow openings high above. Tiny particles of dust drip through the air. Craftsmen are already at work. Tools scrape. Wood shavings fall. Hammers tap softly. The apprentice watches carefully. He has spent years learning these sounds. At first they seemed ordinary. Now they carry meaning. Every sound reveals something. Every movement teaches something. The older craftsmen rarely stop their work to deliver long explanations. Instead, the boy learns through repetition. Through watching. Through doing. Mistakes become lessons. Success becomes routine. Growth happens quietly. Nobody pauses daily life to celebrate each new skill. The work itself matters more. The ability itself matters more. This approach shaped many childhoods throughout the ancient world. Childhood was not ignored. It was simply woven directly into community life. There was little separation between learning and living. Between growing and working. Between childhood and adulthood. The boundaries often remain soft. Flexible. Gradual. By midday, sunlight floods the landscape. The heat settles heavily over fields and villages. The earth radiates warmth. Stone walls become hot to the touch. Even the breeze feels warm. Workers wipe sweat from their faces. Children do the same. A young girl walks carefully along a dusty path carrying a basket. The road stretches ahead through bright sunlight. Sandals press into dry earth. She passes fields of grain moving gently in the wind. She passes laborers tending irrigation channels. She passes farmers guiding animals through narrow plots of land. The scene feels ordinary. Yet these ordinary scenes formed the foundation of countless lives. Most children did not grow up surrounded by great events. Most grew up surrounded by routines. Repeated tasks. Familiar faces. Shared labor. Daily responsibilities. Their stories were rarely written down. Yet they filled the land. Millions of quiet moments spread across centuries. Millions of children slowly growing older without fanfare. Without ceremonies. Without grand recognition. The basket grows heavy. The girl shifts her grip. She keeps walking. She knows the route well. Her feet have followed it many times before. The path itself feels familiar. Like part of her life. Like part of her becoming. Nearby, an elderly woman sits in the shade. She watches people pass. Perhaps she remembers her own childhood. Perhaps she remembers carrying baskets along similar roads. Perhaps she remembers helping her mother grind grain before sunrise. Perhaps she remembers learning responsibilities one small piece at a time. The memories may feel distant now. Soft around the edges. Yet they remain. Because childhood existed. It mattered. Families cared deeply about their children. They hoped they would survive. They hoped they would prosper. They hoped they would contribute to the household and community. But childhood was not always treated as a separate world. It was often viewed as preparation. Preparation for work. Preparation for family life. Preparation for responsibilities waiting ahead. As afternoon slowly drifts toward evening, shadows lengthen once again. The worst heat begins to fade. A breeze arrives from the river. It moves through reeds. It cools tired skin. It carries the smell of water across the land. Workers begin returning home. Their pace is slow. Their bodies are weary. Children walk beside them. Equally dusty. Equally tired. Equally ready for rest. The road back to the village fills with quiet conversation. Families discuss the day. They discuss tomorrow. The future rarely feels distant. There is always another task waiting. Another field to tend. Another net to repair. Another loaf of bread to bake. Children listen carefully. Sometimes they speak. Sometimes they simply absorb. Year after year, these conversations shape them. Not through dramatic lessons. Through repetition. Through example. Through daily life. The village comes into view. Smoke rises from evening fires. Lamps begin glowing inside homes. The sky shifts toward deep blue. The first stars return. Once again, families gather. Once again, food is shared. Once again, tired workers rest aching muscles. Children sit among them. Some still seem very young. Others already appear nearly grown. Yet the transition remains difficult to see. There is no line drawn across the earth. No doorway labeled childhood on one side and adulthood on the other. There is only time. Time flowing quietly forward. Like the Nile. Like the seasons. Like the stars crossing overhead. A boy who once needed constant guidance now receives responsibility. A girl who once watched older relatives work now teaches younger children. The changes continue. Gentle. Unannounced. Almost unnoticed. Night deepens over Egypt. The river glimmers beneath moonlight. Reeds sway softly along the shore. Families settle into sleep. The sounds of labor disappear. The world grows still. And beneath the vast ancient sky, countless children continue their slow journey through the years, carried forward by routine, family, work, and the steady rhythm of life beside the timeless Nile. The Nile moves through the darkness as it always has. Its waters slide past sleeping villages, quiet fields, and silent riverbanks where reeds bend gently beneath the night breeze. Moonlight spreads across the surface in silver patterns. Far away, a boat rests at anchor, rocking so softly that its movement is almost impossible to see. The night belongs to rest. After long hours beneath the sun, bodies finally become still. Workers sleep. Farmers sleep. Builders sleep. Servants sleep. Fishermen sleep. And among them sleep the children of ancient Egypt. The children who will wake tomorrow and find themselves just a little older than they were today. Not enough to notice. Not enough to mark on a calendar. Just enough for time to continue its quiet work. Inside a modest mud-brick home near the edge of a farming village, a family rests together in a single room. The air is warm but comfortable now. A faint breeze slips through a small opening near the roof. The smell of baked grain still lingers from the evening meal. Clay jars stand in neat rows against the wall. Baskets sit in corners. Simple possessions fill the room. Nothing extravagant. Nothing unnecessary. Life here depends upon practicality. Every object has a purpose. Every task has a purpose. Every pair of hands has a purpose. Even the smallest children understand this eventually. Not through formal lessons. Through living. A young boy sleeps beside his older brother. The older brother's hands show years of labor. Small scars. Calluses. Strong fingers shaped by work. The younger boy's hands are beginning to change in similar ways. The transformation is gradual. Almost invisible from one day to the next. But over months and years, the difference becomes clear. One day he notices that certain tasks feel easier. The water jars seem lighter. The baskets seem smaller. The distances seem shorter. His body is changing. His role within the family is changing too. No celebration announces these developments. Life simply adjusts around them. When he was very young, adults completed most tasks for him. Later, they allowed him to help. Now they begin depending on him. The shift happens so naturally that it barely feels like a shift at all. Outside, the stars slowly wheel across the heavens. The village remains silent. Only the occasional sound of insects breaks the stillness. Hours pass. The moon continues its journey. Eventually, darkness begins to thin. A faint glow appears beyond the eastern horizon. Another morning approaches. The first people awake before the sun itself appears. This is the rhythm of life along the Nile. The coolest hours are precious. Work begins early. A woman kneels beside a grinding stone. The familiar sound returns. Stone against grain. A soft scraping rhythm. One of the oldest sounds in the ancient world. Nearby, her daughter wakes and joins her. The girl has witnessed this routine nearly every day of her life. For years she simply watched. Then she learned to assist. Now she performs much of the work herself. Her movements have become efficient. Natural. Almost automatic. She understands how much grain is needed. She understands how long each task requires. She understands what happens if something is forgotten. These lessons did not arrive during a special ceremony. No elder gathered the community to announce her readiness. The knowledge entered her life little by little. Morning after morning. Year after year. The rising sun paints the horizon with soft gold. Shadows retreat across the landscape. Birds begin calling from rooftops and trees. The village awakens fully. Doors open. Voices appear. Footsteps echo along dusty paths. Children emerge from homes and join the movement. Some are still very young. Others stand on the edge of adulthood. The differences between them can be difficult to define. Ancient communities often viewed maturity through ability rather than age. What could a person do? What responsibilities could they handle? What tasks could they complete? These questions mattered more than counting exact years. Many families knew approximately how old their children were. Yet birthdays themselves rarely carried the importance they would in later societies. A child did not wake one morning to find a celebration waiting. No decorated room. No special gathering. No yearly reminder that another year had passed. Time moved quietly. Almost unnoticed. The seasons themselves served as markers. The flooding season. The planting season. The harvest season. Children measured their lives through these cycles. A boy might remember helping in the fields during 3 harvests. Then 6. Then 10. The years accumulated naturally. Without ceremony. Without interruption. The sun rises higher. Warmth spreads across the fields. Farmers walk toward fertile land beside the river. Their tools rest across their shoulders. Dust rises beneath their sandals. Children accompany them. Some carry supplies. Some guide animals. Some simply observe. For now, observation is one of the most important forms of learning. Many skills require years of watching before they can be performed well. A father repairs an irrigation channel. His son kneels nearby. The father says very little. He simply works. The son studies every movement. The placement of earth. The flow of water. The careful adjustments. The knowledge passes between generations without formal instruction. Without certificates. Without public recognition. The lesson itself is enough. Across the Nile Valley, similar scenes unfold. A daughter watches her mother weave. A nephew observes an uncle repairing fishing nets. A young apprentice studies a master craftsman shaping wood. Learning fills the air. Not through schools alone. Not through books alone. Through daily life. Through repetition. Through participation. The heat grows stronger as morning progresses. Sunlight reflects brightly from walls and pathways. The smell of warm earth rises from the ground. In the distance, workers move through fields that seem to shimmer beneath the growing heat. The labor is steady. Patient. Unhurried. There is little reason to rush. The work will still be there tomorrow. And the day after that. Children learn this rhythm as well. Ancient life often moved according to natural limits. The heat determined schedules. The river determined schedules. The seasons determined schedules. People adapted. Children adapted with them. Near midday, the village becomes quieter. The air feels heavy. Even birds seem less active. Workers seek shade wherever they can find it. Walls cast narrow strips of relief across dusty streets. Families gather briefly for food and water. A young girl sits beneath a simple shelter with her grandmother. The older woman peels vegetables while speaking softly. Stories emerge between moments of silence. Memories. Family histories. Observations about neighbors. Lessons hidden within ordinary conversation. The girl listens carefully. Many important teachings arrive this way. Not as formal instruction. Not as grand speeches. Simply as words shared during daily routines. The grandmother may describe how life was during her own childhood. Perhaps she remembers carrying water from the river. Perhaps she remembers tending younger siblings. Perhaps she remembers helping bake bread before sunrise. The details differ. Yet the pattern remains familiar. Responsibility arrived slowly. One small task after another. No celebration marked the change. Only time. Only experience. Only life itself. The afternoon drifts onward. Heat presses against walls and rooftops. The village seems to move more slowly now. Children complete errands. Adults finish necessary work. Animals seek shade. The Nile continues flowing nearby. Its presence is constant. A source of life. A source of food. A source of transportation. A source of memory. Many childhoods unfold within sight of its waters. Children learn to recognize the sounds of the river. The smell of wet reeds. The appearance of boats on the horizon. The changing levels during flood season. The river becomes part of their understanding of the world. Just as work becomes part of their understanding of themselves. As evening approaches, relief finally arrives. The air cools. The light softens. Long shadows stretch across the earth. Workers begin their journey home. A young boy walks beside his father carrying tools. Several years ago those tools would have been too heavy. Now they feel manageable. Perhaps even comfortable. The father notices. He says nothing. There is no need. Both understand what the moment means. The boy is growing. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Just steadily. Like a tree gaining another ring beneath its bark. Like the river carving its path through the land. The village welcomes them back. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The smell of bread fills the air once more. Families gather. Neighbors exchange greetings. Children help prepare the evening meal. The routines repeat. Yet they never remain exactly the same. Because the people performing them are changing. A child becomes older. Stronger. More capable. More trusted. The process is almost impossible to see while it is happening. Only years later does its full shape become clear. Night returns. Stars appear above the Nile. The sounds of labor gradually fade away. Families settle into sleep. Mats are spread across floors. Oil lamps burn low. The warmth of the day slowly escapes into the darkness. And beneath the endless sky of ancient Egypt, childhood continues its quiet passage, carried forward by ordinary mornings, dusty roads, baking bread, shared labor, family routines, and the gentle flow of time beside the ever-moving river. The river is dark again. Moonlight rests softly upon the Nile, turning its slow-moving waters into ribbons of silver. The reeds along the banks whisper whenever the breeze passes through them. Far from the great temples and palaces that would someday fill history books, ordinary families settle into another peaceful night. The village is quiet now. The ovens have cooled. The last conversations have faded. The tired workers who spent the day beneath the sun are asleep. Their breathing fills small rooms with a gentle rhythm. Children sleep among them. Some curl close to parents. Some lie beside brothers and sisters. Some dream without knowing that another day has already become part of the past. Time moves silently during the night. No one hears it. No one sees it. Yet it continues. A child falls asleep one evening and wakes the next morning ever so slightly older. The change is too small to notice. But over hundreds of mornings, over thousands of mornings, those tiny changes become alive. This was often how childhood passed in ancient Egypt. Not through sudden moments. Not through special celebrations. But through countless ordinary days stitched together like threads in a woven cloth. Before dawn, the village remains wrapped in darkness. The air feels cooler now. More comfortable than it will later become. The stars shine brightly overhead. Many ancient Egyptians knew these stars well. Children often grew up seeing the same constellations every night. The sky was not hidden by distant lights. It stretched above them in its full beauty. A young boy wakes briefly. Perhaps he hears a donkey shifting outside. Perhaps a breeze brushes across his face. For a moment he opens his eyes. The room is dark. The outlines of sleeping family members appear faintly in the shadows. Then he closes his eyes again. The night continues. Hours later, morning finally arrives. The eastern horizon grows pale. Birds begin calling. The village slowly wakes. Another day begins much like the one before it. And much like the one before that. Routine forms the backbone of life. Children learn through routine. Families survive through routine. Entire communities depend upon routine. A young girl rises and immediately begins helping prepare the morning meal. She has done this many times before. Her hands know the motions. The grain must be ground. The dough must be prepared. The fire must be managed carefully. Smoke rises gently into the morning air. The smell of baking bread soon follows. It drifts through the village. Warm. Comforting. Familiar. The smell becomes part of childhood itself. Many ancient children likely associated morning with these scents. Fresh bread. Warm grain. Wood smoke. Dust beginning to rise from the roads. The day unfolding before them. As the sun climbs higher, workers head toward their tasks. The roads fill with movement. Farmers carry tools. Merchants arrange goods. Fishermen prepare boats. Builders gather supplies. Children move among them naturally. A young boy follows his older brother toward the fields. The older brother is already trusted with important work. The younger boy still has much to learn. Yet every day brings him closer. He watches carefully. He listens. He remembers. Knowledge enters his mind little by little. No formal ceremony marks these lessons. No special occasion celebrates each new skill. Instead, learning becomes part of ordinary life. A repaired fence. A planted field. A loaded basket. A successful fishing trip. The work itself becomes the lesson. The work itself becomes the measure of growth. Farther north along the Nile, another child spends the morning in a busy town. The streets are narrow. The buildings stand close together. The sounds of activity echo between walls. Merchants call to customers. Animals move through crowded pathways. Workshop doors stand open to allow air inside. A young apprentice enters one of these workshops. The room already smells of wood and dust. Sunlight filters through high openings and falls across workbenches. The craftsmen are busy. Their hands move with practiced confidence. The apprentice watches. Years ago, he could only observe. Now he assists. Soon he will perform larger tasks. Then larger tasks still. The progression feels natural. Nobody gathers the neighborhood to announce it. Growth is expected. Growth is ordinary. Growth happens quietly. The apprentice may not even realize how much he has changed. His attention remains fixed on the work ahead. Yet older workers notice. Parents notice. Relatives notice. A child who once asked endless questions now answers some of them. A child who once carried small tools now carries larger ones. A child who once followed behind adults now walks beside them. The changes accumulate slowly, like grains of sand gathering over time. By late morning, the heat becomes noticeable. The sunlight grows stronger. Shadows shorten. The air feels heavier. Workers wipe sweat from their brows. Children do the same. A young girl carries water from a nearby source. The clay jar rests carefully against her side. The journey is familiar. She has walked this path many times. The road curves past homes made of mud brick. Past storage buildings. Past workshops where craftsmen labor in the growing heat. She knows nearly every turn. Every doorway. Every shaded corner. The village itself feels like an extension of her life. As she walks, she passes younger children playing near a wall. Their laughter drifts through the warm air. For a moment she watches them. Perhaps she remembers being their age. Perhaps she remembers days when fewer responsibilities rested upon her shoulders. Those memories may not seem very distant. Yet already they belong to another chapter of life. The transition is subtle. There is no clear dividing line. One year blends gently into the next. The younger children she passes today will someday carry water as she does now. And they too may wonder when exactly childhood began slipping away. The answer would be difficult to find. It happened little by little. Day by day. Season by season. The Nile continues flowing nearby. Its waters sparkle beneath the midday sun. Boats drift along its surface. Some carry grain. Some carry stone. Some carry travelers moving between settlements. Children often watch these boats with curiosity. The river connects distant places. It carries stories, goods, news, possibilities. Yet for most families, daily life remains centered close to home. The tasks of survival leave little time for wandering. Bread must be baked. Fields must be tended. Animals must be cared for. Homes must be maintained. Children grow up surrounded by these realities. Not because anyone forces them to think constantly about work, but because work is simply everywhere. It surrounds daily life. It shapes daily life. And gradually, children become part of it. The afternoon sun burns brightly overhead. The village slows. People seek relief beneath awnings and shaded walls. A farmer rests beneath a tree. Nearby sits his son. For a while neither speaks. The silence feels comfortable. The breeze moves gently through leaves. The farmer studies the fields. The boy studies them too. Years of observation have trained his eyes. He notices details that younger children might overlook. The condition of crops. The moisture of soil. The movement of irrigation water. Knowledge is becoming part of him. Not through a single lesson. Not through a single day. Through repetition. Through patience. Through countless afternoons exactly like this one. As the day continues, shadows begin growing longer. The worst heat slowly fades. Workers return to their tasks with renewed energy. Children help finish the day's responsibilities. A basket must be carried. A net repaired. A goat guided home. A floor swept. Small tasks perhaps. Yet each one contributes to the larger life of the household. Each one teaches responsibility. Each one builds trust. and trust often serves as one of the quiet signs that childhood is changing. When adults trust a child with greater responsibilities, they reveal something important. They believe the child is capable. They believe the child is ready. Not fully grown perhaps, but growing. Even if no celebration ever announces it. Even if no ceremony ever marks the occasion. The trust itself becomes the recognition. Evening arrives once more. The sky turns gold above the river. Birds cross the horizon. The heat finally loosens its hold on the land. Families gather near their homes. Cooking fires glow warmly. The smell of fresh bread returns once again. The familiar rhythm continues. Children sit among parents and relatives. Stories are shared. Advice is offered. Questions are asked. Answers are given. Life unfolds around them. The stars emerge one by one overhead. The Nile reflects their light. Night settles gently across Egypt. And as families prepare for sleep beneath the endless sky, childhood continues its quiet journey forward, carried by ordinary labor, familiar roads, warm bread, dusty sandals, river breezes, and the countless small moments that slowly transform children into adults without ever stopping to celebrate the change. The stars shine softly above the Nile. Their reflections tremble upon the water as the river moves through the darkness. Along the banks, reeds sway gently in the warm night breeze. The villages have fallen silent. The workshops are empty. The fields rest beneath the moonlight. For a few precious hours, labor gives way to sleep. The farmers who spent the day beneath the sun are resting. The fishermen who cast their nets before dawn are resting. The women who baked bread and carried water are resting. And the children, whose lives slowly weave themselves into the work of the community, are resting too. Inside a small mud brick home, a family sleeps close together. The room is simple. The walls are thick. The floor is hard beneath woven mats. An oil lamp, long extinguished, sits in a corner. Clay jars stand quietly against the wall. The smell of grain and dust lingers faintly in the air. A young boy turns in his sleep. Tomorrow will be much like today. And much like yesterday. Yet hidden inside that sameness is change. A change so gradual that it often escapes notice. Every day teaches him something. Every season leaves its mark. Every year adds another layer of experience. Childhood does not vanish all at once. It recedes slowly, like the last light of evening disappearing from the western sky. Outside, the moon continues its silent journey overhead. Hours pass. The night air cools slightly. The village remains still. Then, far away, a rooster calls. Another answers. The darkness begins to soften. Morning is approaching once more. The eastern horizon brightens with pale shades of silver and gold. The Nile catches the first hints of sunlight. Mist hangs above the water. For a few moments, the world feels calm and almost dreamlike. A young girl steps outside her family's home. The air is cool against her skin. She carries an empty clay vessel. Soon it will be filled with water. This is not a new task. She has performed it many times. At first she needed help. Someone walked beside her. Someone showed her where to step. Someone lifted the heavy jar. Now she walks alone. Now she carries the weight herself. No one announced this change. No celebration marked the first morning she completed the journey independently. Life simply adjusted. The responsibility became hers. The path to the water has become familiar. Her sandals press softly into the dusty earth. Birds move among the reeds. The river flows steadily nearby. The sounds of the waking village grow behind her. Doors opening. Voices speaking quietly. Animals stirring. Another day has begun. The village soon fills with movement. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The scent of bread begins spreading through the air. Children and adults alike prepare for the hours ahead. A young boy follows his father toward the fields. The tools they carry seem ordinary. Yet the boy remembers a time when he was too small to lift them. Now he carries some of them himself. Not all. Just enough. The responsibility grows alongside his strength. The process is gradual. The process is patient. The process mirrors the growth of crops beside the Nile. Seeds do not become grain overnight. Children do not become adults overnight either. Both require time. Both require care. Both follow their own quiet rhythms. As the sun rises higher, golden light spreads across the fertile land. Fields stretch beside the river. The green crops create a striking contrast against the pale desert beyond. Life exists here because of water. Because of labor. Because generation after generation has worked this land. Children grow up understanding this reality. Not through speeches. Not through lessons written on scrolls. Through observation. Through participation. Through daily life. A farmer kneels beside an irrigation channel. Water moves steadily through the narrow trench. His son kneels nearby. The older man studies the flow carefully. The younger one does the same. Years ago, the child would have seen only water. Now he sees much more. He notices where the channel is weak. He notices where repairs are needed. He notices how the water behaves. Knowledge has entered his life so gradually that he hardly remembers learning it. One lesson followed another. One season followed another. The understanding simply accumulated. Across Egypt, countless children experience similar moments. A young apprentice begins recognizing the quality of wood by touch. A fisherman's daughter learns how to repair a net without assistance. A merchant's son learns which goods are most valuable at certain times of year. A baker's daughter learns how dough should feel before it enters the oven. The knowledge becomes part of them. Not through ceremonies. Not through celebrations. But through repetition. Through patience. Through practice. By mid-morning, the sun is warm. Workers move steadily through their tasks. The sounds of labor fill the air. Tools striking wood. Animals moving along dusty roads. Voices calling across fields. The steady scrape of grinding stones. Children move among these sounds every day. Many of them begin helping at ages that might seem surprising to people from much later centuries. Yet the work often grows gradually. Responsibility expands as ability expands. The process feels natural within the community. No clear boundary separates childhood from adulthood. Instead, there is a long stretch of years where a person becomes increasingly capable, increasingly trusted, increasingly relied upon. A young girl enters a busy household courtyard. Several women are preparing food. The air smells of grain and herbs. Sunlight falls across baskets and clay vessels. The girl joins the work without being asked. She knows what needs to be done. The routine has become familiar. Her hands move confidently. An older relative watches her for a moment. There may be a quiet feeling of pride. Not because a ceremony has taken place. Not because a milestone has been reached. Simply because competence has appeared. A child who once required instruction now provides assistance. The change has arrived gently, like dawn spreading across the horizon. The hours continue passing. The heat grows stronger. By midday, sunlight covers nearly everything. The roads shimmer. The walls radiate warmth. The air feels thick and still. Workers search for shade whenever possible. Children do the same. Many sit beneath simple shelters or beside cool interior walls. Meals are shared. Water is passed from hand to hand. Conversation drifts lazily through the hot afternoon. In these moments, children often hear the concerns of adults. Discussions about crops, repairs, trade, river levels, family matters, the practical details of survival. Little by little, these concerns become familiar. Little by little, children begin thinking about them too. The world of adulthood does not arrive suddenly. It slowly enters the mind through years of listening, years of observing, years of participation. The afternoon moves at a slower pace. The heat encourages patience. A farmer rests beneath the shade of a palm tree. Nearby sits his daughter. Together they watch the distant river. Boats move along its surface. Their sails catch the breeze. For a while, neither speaks. The silence feels comfortable. The daughter notices things she would not have noticed years earlier. The condition of nearby crops. The work still waiting to be completed. The movement of clouds. Her perspective is changing. Without fanfare. Without announcement. Without celebration. Simply through growing older. As evening finally approaches, relief returns. The sunlight softens. The breeze strengthens. Long shadows stretch across the land. Workers begin walking home. Dust rises beneath their sandals. Children walk beside them. The day's labor is finished. For now. A young boy carries a bundle of tools. The load is heavier than anything he could have managed a few years ago. Yet he carries it comfortably. His father glances toward him. Neither says much. Words are unnecessary. The evidence is clear. The child is changing. Responsibility is becoming familiar. The future is drawing closer. The village welcomes everyone home. Cooking fires glow. The smell of bread drifts through the evening air. Families gather once more. The same routines repeat. Yet the people inside those routines are never exactly the same as they were before. Children continue growing. Season after season. Year after year. The changes are small. Almost invisible. But they never stop. Night returns. Stars appear above the Nile. The sounds of the village fade into silence. Families prepare for sleep. Mats are spread across floors. Oil lamps flicker softly before being extinguished. The warmth of the day slowly leaves the walls. And beneath the peaceful sky of ancient Egypt, countless children continue their quiet passage through the years, guided by family, shaped by work, surrounded by the steady rhythms of the river, and carried ever onward by the gentle flow of time. The Nile glides quietly through the darkness. Its waters have flowed past these shores for longer than anyone can remember. Long before the villages were built, long before the fields were planted, long before the children sleeping tonight were born, the river was already moving steadily toward the sea. Now it continues beneath the stars. The moon hangs low above the horizon. Its pale light touches the roofs of mud-brick homes and the narrow paths that wind between them. The village is still. The day's labor has ended. The tools have been put away. The ovens have cooled. Even the animals seem content to rest. Inside one small house, a young boy sleeps deeply. His breathing is slow and steady. A few years ago, he was carried through these rooms in his mother's arms. A few years before that, he could barely walk across the floor without stumbling. Now his legs are strong enough to follow adults through fields for hours at a time. Now he can carry water. Now he can help repair simple tools. Now he can complete tasks without constant supervision. No one gathered to celebrate these changes. No one announced them. Yet they happened all the same. The quiet passage from dependence toward responsibility continues whether it is noticed or not. The room remains peaceful. Nearby, his father sleeps. The father's body bears the marks of many years of work. His hands are rough. His shoulders are broad. His face carries lines formed by sunlight and time. The boy does not yet resemble him completely. But each year brings a few more similarities. A little more strength. A little more understanding. A little more trust. Outside, the night slowly begins to fade. The stars dim one by one. The eastern sky grows pale. Birdsong emerges from the darkness. The first sounds of morning spread across the village. A door opens. Footsteps cross a courtyard. A donkey shakes itself awake. The familiar rhythm begins once again. The day starts early. The coolest hours are valuable. Families rise before the heat arrives. A young girl sits beside her mother near a grinding stone. The work begins. Grain is poured. Hands move steadily. The soft scraping sound fills the morning air. The girl has heard the sound for nearly her entire life. As a small child, she watched from nearby. Later, she helped gather grain. Then she learned how to grind it herself. Now she can complete much of the process without guidance. The progression feels natural. There was no single day when someone declared her ready. Readiness revealed itself through practice. Through repetition. Through countless mornings exactly like this one. The sun rises over the Nile. Golden light spreads across the fields. The river glitters. Palm trees cast long shadows. Farmers leave the village carrying tools across their shoulders. Children walk beside them. Some chatter quietly. Others remain silent, still waking from sleep. Dust rises beneath their sandals. The road is familiar. Many of them have walked it hundreds of times. Every season deepens that familiarity. The landscape becomes part of childhood itself. The river. The fields. The reeds. The distant desert. The smell of warm earth after sunrise. The feeling of sand beneath bare feet. The sight of birds lifting from the riverbank. These experiences settle into memory. Years later, they may still remain. Not as dramatic moments. Not as grand events. Simply as pieces of ordinary life. And ordinary life fills most of human history. Far from royal courts and temple ceremonies, childhood unfolds through routines. A boy learns how to guide animals. A girl learns how to store grain safely. An apprentice learns how to recognize quality materials. A fisherman's son learns where fish gather during certain seasons. None of these lessons arrive suddenly. They arrive gradually. A little knowledge one day. A little more the next. Mistakes become teachers. Success becomes habit. The morning grows warmer. The fields become busy. Workers spread across the landscape. The sounds of labor rise into the air. Tools scrape against soil. Water moves through irrigation channels. Voices carry across open spaces. Children participate where they can. Some work directly. Others observe. Observation itself is important. Many ancient skills require years of watching before mastery becomes possible. A father may spend an entire morning repairing part of a field system. His son watches nearby. Perhaps he asks questions. Perhaps he simply pays attention. The father demonstrates through action more than words. The son learns through watching more than listening. This pattern repeats across generations. Knowledge passes quietly from one person to another. No certificates. No formal graduations. No celebrations marking each achievement. The ability itself serves as proof. As the sun climbs higher, the heat becomes more noticeable. The coolness of morning disappears. Bright sunlight floods the land. The Nile sparkles intensely beneath the sky. Workers wipe sweat from their brows. The labor continues. Ancient life often demanded endurance. Fields needed tending regardless of temperature. Water needed carrying. Food needed preparing. Repairs needed completing. Children witnessed this reality every day. Through witnessing it, they became prepared for it. A young boy helps move bundles of harvested grain. The load is not enormous. Adults still carry heavier burdens. Yet his contribution matters. Years ago, he would have been unable to help. Today he can. Years from now, he will carry much more. The progression is steady. Almost gentle. Responsibility expands like a shadow moving slowly across the ground. Nearby, another child works beside relatives sorting food for storage. Careful hands separate useful grain from unwanted debris. The task requires patience. The child performs it seriously. Not because anyone is watching closely. Not because a reward awaits. Simply because this work has become part of daily life. Part of belonging. Part of growing up. The midday heat eventually settles over everything. The village slows. People seek shelter from the strongest sunlight. Walls cast narrow bands of shade. Courtyards become gathering places. Meals are shared. Water is poured from clay vessels. Children rest beside older relatives. Stories often emerge during these quieter hours. Not formal stories designed to teach lessons. Just memories. Observations. Conversations. An older man remembers a particularly high flood season from years ago. A grandmother recalls a harvest from her youth. A mother describes relatives living in another settlement farther along the river. Children listen. Whether they realize it or not, they are learning. Not only facts. Not only skills. They are learning how adults think. How adults remember. How adults understand the world. The transition toward adulthood often begins in moments like these. Not through dramatic events. Through listening. Through participation. Through simply being present. The afternoon passes slowly. The air shimmers above dusty roads. Even the animals move more carefully in the heat. A young girl sits beneath a shaded awning weaving simple fibers together. Her fingers move with growing confidence. The work once seemed difficult. Now it feels familiar. The improvement happened gradually. One attempt after another. One season after another. Nobody celebrated when her work first became reliable. The family simply began trusting her with more responsibility. Trust often served as one of the quiet signs of growing up. The more capable a child became, the more trust followed. More tasks. More expectations. More opportunities to contribute. The process unfolded naturally, like a river finding its course. As evening approaches, the light softens again. A breeze moves across the Nile. The worst heat finally begins to fade. Workers finish their tasks and start walking home. Dusty roads fill with familiar faces. Children walk beside parents. Older siblings walk beside younger ones. The village slowly gathers itself together after another long day. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The smell of bread returns once more. Warm and welcoming. One of the most familiar scents in ancient Egypt. Families prepare their evening meals. Voices drip through open doorways. Laughter occasionally appears. Not loud. Not constant. Just small moments of comfort after a day of labor. A young boy sits beside his grandfather as darkness begins returning. The older man watches the stars emerge above the river. The boy watches too. For a while they say very little. The evening itself feels complete. The breeze is pleasant. The river is calm. The village is peaceful. The boy does not realize that childhood is passing. Most children never do. The changes are too gradual. Too woven into everyday life. One year resembles the next. One season follows another. And somewhere along that long road, a child slowly becomes an adult. Not through celebration. Not through announcement. But through living. Night deepens over the Nile. The stars multiply overhead. Families settle onto sleeping mats. Oil lamps flicker softly and then go dark. The sounds of the village fade away. Only the river continues moving through the darkness, carrying with it another ordinary day in the lives of countless children whose journey toward adulthood unfolds quietly beneath the timeless Egyptian sky. The river flows on through the night. Its surface reflects 1,000 stars, each one trembling softly in the slow-moving water. Along the banks, reeds sway with a faint rustling sound. The warm desert wind drifts across the Nile Valley and slips between the homes of sleeping families. The village is wrapped in darkness. Only a few small lamps remain lit. Most have already burned out. The people of the village are resting after another long day. Their hands are tired. Their backs are tired. Their feet are tired from walking dusty roads beneath the sun. Children sleep among them. Some dream deeply. Others stir occasionally and then drift back into sleep. The hours pass quietly. The moon climbs higher. The river continues its endless journey. And somewhere inside one of the mud-brick houses, a boy who no longer feels quite as young as he once did sleeps beside his younger brother. The younger boy still asks many questions. He still runs more than he walks. He still follows older children whenever he can. The older brother remembers being exactly the same. Though not very long ago. The memory is still clear. Yet already something has changed. Adults speak to him differently now. They trust him with more responsibilities. They expect him to understand certain things. The shift happened gradually. There was no single moment. No ceremony. No celebration. Just one season leading quietly into the next. Outside, the stars begin fading. Morning approaches once again. The eastern horizon becomes pale. The darkness softens. Birds wake among the reeds. The familiar sounds of another day begin to emerge. A woman opens the door of her home and steps into the cool dawn air. The sky above her is turning gold. The village remains mostly quiet. This is one of the most peaceful moments of the day. Before the heat. Before the labor. Before the movement and noise. Just the soft sounds of morning beside the Nile. Soon the routines begin. Bread must be prepared. Water must be collected. Animals must be tended. Fields must be visited. Work waits for everyone, children included. A young girl carries a basket across the village. The basket is empty now. Soon it will be filled with grain. She walks with confidence. Her path is familiar. Every turn of the road feels known. The walls, the courtyards, the shaded corners, the smell of fresh bread coming from nearby ovens. She has seen these things every day of her life. The village itself feels like part of her family. As she passes through the narrow paths, neighbors greet her. Some still remember when she was very small, when she could barely carry anything at all. Now she moves with purpose. The changes are obvious to those who have watched her grow. Yet nobody speaks of them as special milestones. Growth is expected. Growth is natural. Growth belongs to life itself. The sun rises fully. Golden light spreads across the fields beside the river. Workers head toward their daily tasks. Children follow. The roads fill with movement. Dust rises beneath countless footsteps. The smell of warm earth begins to fill the air. Near the riverbank, a fisherman prepares his boat. Beside him stands his son. The boy's hands move across a fishing net. Years ago he would have tangled the ropes. Now he repairs small tiers without assistance. The work has become familiar. His fingers know what to do. The knowledge did not arrive suddenly. It arrived one lesson at a time. One mistake at a time. One morning at a time. Many ancient children learned this way. Not from written instructions. Not from classrooms. But from years spent beside experienced adults. Watching. Helping. Practicing. Repeating. The lessons became part of daily life. A carpenter's son learned through wood shavings scattered across workshop floors. A baker's daughter learned through the smell of dough and the warmth of ovens. A farmer's child learned through seasons of planting and harvest. The work itself became the teacher. And childhood slowly blended into apprenticeship. Apprenticeship slowly blended into responsibility. Responsibility slowly blended into adulthood. The morning grows warmer. The village becomes busy. Voices echo through the streets. Animals move through narrow pathways. Merchants organize goods beneath shaded awnings. The sounds of labor create a familiar rhythm. Hammering. Grinding. Sweeping. Carrying. Building. Children hear these sounds every day. They become part of the landscape. Part of memory. Part of growing up. A young apprentice enters a crowded workshop. The room smells of wood dust and sunlight-warm timber. Experienced craftsmen work nearby. Their hands move with calm confidence. The apprentice studies every motion. He remembers when he understood almost nothing about the trade. Now he understands much more. The difference is difficult to measure. It happens so slowly. Yet it is real. One day he realized he could complete tasks that once seemed impossible. No celebration followed. No public recognition. The workshop simply continued. The work simply continued. And so did his growth. By midday, the heat settles heavily over the land. The sky appears almost white with brightness. The stone walls absorb warmth. The roads shimmer beneath the sun. Workers seek shade when possible. Children do the same. A family gathers beneath a simple shelter. The meal is modest. Bread. Vegetables. Perhaps dates. Perhaps fish caught earlier that morning. The food is shared. Conversation moves slowly. Nobody rushes. The heat discourages hurry. A grandmother sits nearby. Her hands are marked by decades of labor. Her face carries gentle signs of age. Beside her sits a granddaughter. The older woman tells a story from her youth. Not a grand story. Not a famous story. Simply a memory. A memory of carrying water. A memory of helping during harvest. A memory of learning tasks that once seemed difficult. The girl listens. Perhaps she imagines those days. Perhaps she notices similarities between the story and her own life. The years separate them. Yet much remains familiar. The cycle continues from generation to generation. Children become adults. Adults become elders. New children arrive. The river witnesses it all. The Nile flows beside every stage of life. Its waters carry reflections of countless childhoods. Countless mornings. Countless evenings. Countless ordinary moments that history rarely records. As afternoon stretches onward, the village slows. The heat reaches its peak. Even the breeze seems tired. Workers move carefully. Children complete simple tasks and seek shade afterward. A young boy rests beneath a palm tree near the edge of a field. He watches his father working in the distance. Years ago, the work seemed mysterious. Now he understands much of it. He knows why certain channels must be cleared. He knows when crops need water. He knows how weather affects the fields. Knowledge has quietly taken root inside him. Like a seed growing beneath the soil. Invisible at first. Then impossible to deny. No celebration marked the day he learned these things. There was no need. The knowledge itself mattered more. The ability itself mattered more. Evening finally arrives. The air begins to cool. Long shadows stretch across the land. Workers start walking home. The village slowly gathers together again. Cooking fires glow. Smoke rises into the darkening sky. The smell of bread returns. Children help prepare meals. Parents discuss the day. Neighbors exchange news. The familiar rhythm continues. A boy carries a bundle of reeds. A girl helps knead dough. Another child tends a small fire. The responsibilities vary. The pattern remains the same. Trust grows. Experience grows. Capability grows. And childhood gradually retreats. Not disappearing all at once. Simply making room for what comes next. The stars appear above the Nile. One by one. The river reflects them quietly. Families settle inside their homes. The sounds of the village fade. The day's labor becomes memory. Children lie down to sleep. Tomorrow will bring another sunrise. Another day of learning. Another day of growing. Another small step along the long and gentle path from childhood toward adulthood. And beneath the endless sky of ancient Egypt, beside the timeless waters of the Nile, that journey continues as it always has, carried forward by routine, family, work, and the quiet passage of ordinary days. The night rests gently upon the Nile. The river moves through the darkness with the same steady patience it showed yesterday, and the day before that, and the countless days before those. Moonlight stretches across the water in long silver paths. Reeds whisper softly whenever the breeze finds them. The villages sleep. The fields sleep. The workshops sleep. Even the animals seem wrapped in a deep and peaceful stillness. Inside a modest home near the river, a family lies together on woven mats. The room is warm but comfortable. The thick mud brick walls have released much of the day's heat. A clay water jar stands quietly in the corner. Nearby, baskets hold grain for tomorrow. Simple things. Useful things. The possessions of ordinary people. A young girl sleeps beside her mother. During the day she helped prepare bread. She carried water. She watched younger children while adults worked nearby. Tomorrow she will likely do the same. And yet tomorrow will not be exactly the same. Because she herself is changing. Very slowly. Very quietly. In ways that are difficult to see from one morning to the next. That is often how childhood passes. Not like a door opening. Not like a road suddenly ending. More like the Nile slowly changing its level throughout the year. The change is constant. Yet almost invisible while it happens. Outside, the stars drift across the sky. Hours pass. The moon continues westward. Eventually, the first signs of dawn begin to appear. A pale glow spreads along the horizon. Darkness retreats from the fields. Birds awaken among the reeds. The air feels cool and fresh. For a short while, before the heat arrives, the Nile Valley feels almost weightless. A farmer steps outside his home and looks toward the river. The day is beginning. Soon the village follows. Doors open. Voices emerge. Cooking fires are lit. The smell of smoke drifts into the morning air. Children wake alongside adults. There is little separation between their routines. Life is shared. Work is shared. Responsibility is shared. A young boy rubs sleep from his eyes and joins his father outside. The sky above them glows gold. The road ahead is dusty and familiar. Together they begin walking toward the fields. Their sandals leave faint marks in the earth. The boy remembers when he could not keep up with the adults. His legs were shorter then. His steps were slower. Now he walks comfortably beside them. The distance feels easier. The road feels smaller. His world has expanded without him fully noticing. Along the way, they pass neighbors beginning their own mornings. Women carry baskets. Men carry tools. Children move between them, already becoming part of the day's work. The village breathes awake. The sounds are gentle. Footsteps. Voices. Animals stirring. The scrape of wooden tools. The crackle of small fires. These sounds form the music of everyday life. Children hear them so often that they become part of memory itself. Many years later, long after childhood has ended, such sounds may still remain somewhere deep within the mind. The fields shine beneath the early sunlight. Water moves through irrigation channels. The earth appears rich and dark near the river. Beyond the cultivated land, the desert waits quietly. The contrast is familiar. Life and dryness. Green and gold. River and sand. Children growing up here learn these landscapes as naturally as they learn the faces of family members. The land becomes part of who they are. A young boy kneels beside his father near a field. The older man examines the crops. The boy does the same. At first, years ago, he would have seen only plants. Now he notices details. The color of leaves. The condition of the soil. The amount of water reaching each area. Knowledge has accumulated little by little. No single lesson taught him everything. No ceremony announced his understanding. Experience became his teacher. Day after day. Season after season. Nearby, another child walks along a narrow path carrying a basket. The basket is heavier than those she carried when she was younger. Yet she hardly seems to notice. Her strength has grown naturally. Like everything else, the adults around her trust her more now. Not because of a specific birthday. Not because of a celebration. Because she has shown herself capable. Capability often shaped expectations in ancient communities. The more a child could do, the more responsibility followed. The process felt practical, gradual, almost invisible. The morning continues. The sun climbs higher. Warmth spreads across the land. Workers move steadily through their tasks. Children help where they can. Some carry supplies. Some watch animals. Some assist in workshops. Others fetch water or deliver messages. The details differ. The pattern remains familiar. Childhood exists. Yet it is closely connected to the adult world. Children are learning the lives they will someday live. Not through imagination alone. Through participation. A busy workshop near the center of a town hums with activity. The air smells of wood dust and warm stone. Light enters through narrow openings. An apprentice stands beside an older craftsman. The apprentice watches carefully. His hands are no longer uncertain. They move with growing confidence. Years of observation are beginning to bear fruit. The older craftsman notices. Perhaps he says very little. Many lessons require few words. A simple nod. A brief correction. A quiet sign of approval. The work continues. The learning continues. And once again, no celebration marks the moment. The workshop simply trusts the apprentice with more responsibility. That trust itself becomes a kind of recognition. Outside, the streets fill with movement. Merchants arrange goods. Customers pass by. Donkeys carry loads through narrow roads. The heat gradually increases. Dust hangs in the sunlight. Children move through this environment every day. It becomes familiar. The smells. The sounds. The routines. The expectations. By midday, the sun stands high overhead. The brightness seems to cover everything. Walls glow with reflected light. The roads feel hot beneath sandals. Shade becomes valuable. Families gather beneath awnings and in courtyards. Meals are shared. Water is poured into simple cups. Children sit among adults. They listen more than they speak. Around them, conversations drift from one topic to another. The condition of crops. The level of the river. Repairs needed on a roof. News from another village. Children absorb these discussions without realizing it. The concerns of adulthood slowly become familiar. The future arrives gradually. Long before a child considers themselves grown, they have already begun understanding the responsibilities waiting ahead. A grandmother sits nearby. Her hands move slowly as she repairs a woven basket. The work is steady, patient. The same qualities that shaped much of life beside the Nile. A younger child watches her. The child asks a question. The grandmother answers. Then continues working. A simple moment. An ordinary moment. Yet thousands of such moments helped shape childhood across generations. Knowledge passed quietly from person to person. Not through grand speeches. Through shared time. Through daily routines. Through presence. The afternoon drifts onward. The heat reaches its peak. The village grows quieter. Workers slow their pace when possible. Children seek shade beneath trees or walls. A gentle breeze arrives from the river. It carries the scent of water and wet reeds. For a little while, relief spreads across the land. A young girl sits near the edge of the village watching boats move along the Nile. Their sails catch the wind. They glide across the water with calm certainty. She wonders where they are going. Perhaps to another town. Perhaps to a distant market. Perhaps farther than she has ever traveled. The river connects many lives. Yet most childhoods remain centered around familiar places. The same roads. The same homes. The same fields. The same people. Within that small world, enormous growth takes place. Not all at once. One day at a time. One task at a time. One lesson at a time. As evening approaches, the heat finally begins to soften. Long shadows stretch across the fields. Workers start their journey home. Dust rises gently beneath tired feet. Children walk beside parents and older siblings. The road feels familiar after so many years. Each journey adds another thread to memory. The village appears ahead. Cooking fires begin glowing. The smell of bread returns once more. Warm. Comforting. Constant. Families gather for the evening meal. Voices fill the air. Lamps flicker softly. The stars emerge above the river. A young boy sits quietly beside his grandfather. Neither speaks for a while. They simply watch the sky darken. The stars appear one by one. The river reflects them. The evening breeze moves through the reeds. The boy feels older than he once did. Yet not quite grown. He stands somewhere between the two. As countless children have before him. As countless children will after him. And while the Nile continues its endless journey through the night, childhood continues its own quiet journey beside it, carried forward by family, labor, routine, trust, and the gentle passage of time that asks for no celebration as it slowly transforms the young into the grown. The evening deepens over the Nile. The last colors of sunset have faded from the western horizon. Above the river, the sky becomes darker and darker until countless stars emerge from the shadows. Their reflections tremble across the water, broken gently by the slow current. A soft breeze drifts through the reeds. It carries the smell of river water and damp earth. The heat of the day is finally gone. For the workers of Egypt, this is a welcome time. A time for rest. A time for food. A time for quiet conversation before sleep. Throughout the village, small lamps glow inside mud-brick homes. Their light spills softly through doorways and narrow windows. Families gather close together. Children sit among parents and grandparents. The day's labor is finished. For now. A young boy tears a piece of bread from a warm loaf. The bread was baked earlier that evening in a clay oven that still holds traces of heat. The smell fills the room. Simple food. Simple comfort. Around him, relatives speak quietly. The conversations move from one subject to another. The condition of a field. A repair needed on a roof. News from a neighboring village. Plans for tomorrow. The boy listens. Years ago he paid little attention to such discussions. Now he follows them more closely. He understands more. The words carry greater meaning. Without realizing it, he has begun stepping into the concerns of adulthood. Not completely. Not yet. But gradually. The transition continues. As it always has. Outside, the stars brighten. The village settles into silence. One lamp after another is extinguished. Doors close. Voices fade. Sleep arrives. The river remains awake. It continues moving through the darkness, flowing past villages, towns, temples, fields, and riverbanks lined with reeds. The Nile has witnessed countless childhoods. Countless ordinary lives. Most of those lives were never recorded. Their names have long since disappeared. Yet their days were real. Their hopes were real. Their routines were real. A young girl sleeps beside her younger sister. Tomorrow she will wake before sunrise. She already knows this. The rhythm of life rarely changes. Morning comes early. Work begins early. The seasons demand it. The climate demands it. The river itself encourages it. As she sleeps, the night passes slowly. The moon crosses the sky. The stars shift overhead. The village remains peaceful. Then, little by little, dawn approaches. A pale glow appears in the east. Birds begin calling from rooftops and palm trees. The first signs of movement return to the settlement. A door opens. Footsteps cross a courtyard. Smoke rises from a cooking fire. The day begins again. The girl wakes. Without thinking, she begins her morning routine. The tasks are familiar. They have become part of her. Years of repetition have woven them into daily life. At first she needed reminders. Now she remembers automatically. A basket is carried. Water is fetched. Grain is prepared. The work unfolds naturally. Nearby, younger children watch. Just as she once watched. The cycle continues. The younger children study her movements. They notice how she performs tasks. They imitate what they see. Many lessons in the ancient world passed this way. Not through formal instruction. Through observation. Through example. Through countless ordinary mornings. The sun rises higher. Golden light spreads across the valley. The Nile glitters beneath the sky. Boats begin moving along the water. Workers head toward fields and workshops. Dust rises beneath sandals. Voices carry through the cool morning air. A young apprentice crosses a crowded street in a riverside town. The workshop awaits him. Its doors stand open. Already the older craftsmen are at work. The smell of wood and dust greets him as he enters. The room feels familiar. Almost like a second home. He has spent years here. Years watching. Years learning. Years making mistakes. Years improving. The changes happen so slowly that they are difficult to measure. Yet they are everywhere. His hands move differently now. His eyes notice details they once missed. His confidence has grown. The older craftsmen trust him with more responsibilities. Nobody announced this shift. Nobody organized a celebration. Trust simply increased. One task at a time. 1 year at a time. The workshop itself becomes a quiet witness to his growth. Sunlight enters through high openings and falls across workbenches. Tiny particles of dust drift through bright beams of light. Tools scrape. Wood shavings gather on the floor. The apprentice works steadily. The rhythm feels natural. Elsewhere, a young boy walks beside his father toward the fields. The road stretches ahead through fertile land near the river. The earth is dark and rich. Water flows through irrigation channels. The boy studies everything. Years ago he saw only the surface. Now he notices details. Small changes in the crops. The condition of the soil. The flow of water. The signs of approaching work. Knowledge has accumulated quietly. No single lesson transformed him. Experience shaped him instead. Morning after morning. Season after season. The heat grows stronger as the day advances. By late morning, sunlight covers the valley. The roads become brighter. The air becomes warmer. Workers continue their labor. Children assist where they can. The boundaries between learning and working often remain blurred. To help is to learn. To observe is to learn. To participate is to learn. A young girl kneads dough beside her mother. The dough presses against her hands. Flour clings to her skin. The smell of grain fills the room. The motions feel familiar now. Years of practice have made them smooth and efficient. Her mother watches quietly. There is no ceremony marking this competence. No public recognition. Yet the mother notices. She sees the improvement. She sees the growing reliability. She sees a child slowly becoming someone the household can depend upon. Such changes often mattered more than age itself. A number of years was less important than what a person could do. What responsibilities they could manage. What trust they had earned. By midday, the heat settles heavily over the land. The bright sky seems endless. The village slows. Shade becomes precious. Families gather for meals and rest. Children sit among adults. They hear stories and conversations. The concerns of the household drip through the air. Food storage. Repairs. Harvest plans. River conditions. These subjects become familiar long before children fully understand them. The language of adulthood enters their lives gradually. A little at a time. Much like responsibility itself. In one shaded courtyard, an elderly man repairs a fishing net. His fingers move slowly but skillfully. Beside him sits his grandson. The boy watches every motion. The older man explains very little. He does not need to. The lesson is visible. The hands themselves teach. The boy studies the knots. The tension of the rope. The pattern of the weave. This is how much knowledge moves through the ancient world. Patiently. Quietly. Without ceremony. The afternoon stretches onward. The heat lingers. The village remains calm. Some children run errands. Others help with household tasks. Others sit beside relatives and observe. Even moments of rest often become moments of learning. A child listening to conversations. A child watching repairs. A child studying how adults solve problems. These experiences slowly build understanding. The process takes years. There is no rush. The river itself seems to encourage patience. Everything along the Nile follows rhythms larger than any individual life. Floods arrive. Floods retreat. Fields are planted. Fields are harvested. Children grow. Adults age. The cycle continues. As evening approaches, the sunlight softens. The fierce brightness of midday gives way to gentler colors. A breeze returns from the river. Workers begin walking home. Dusty roads fill with familiar faces. Children walk beside parents. The day's work is behind them. The evening awaits. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The smell of bread drifts across the village once again. It is one of the most constant scents in life beside the Nile. Warm bread. Warm earth. Warm air slowly cooling after sunset. Families gather. Meals are shared. Stories are told. Lamps flicker softly. A young boy sits near a doorway watching darkness settle over the river. The stars appear one by one. He does not know exactly when childhood will end. No one does. There will be no single morning when he wakes transformed. No celebration waiting outside. No clear dividing line. Instead, another day will come. And then another. And then another. Responsibilities will grow. Trust will grow. Knowledge will grow. And somewhere within those ordinary days, childhood will continue its quiet passage into memory, carried gently forward by the steady flow of the Nile, the warmth of family, the rhythm of work, and the peaceful turning of the seasons beneath the ancient Egyptian sky. The night is quiet once more. The Nile flows beneath a sky filled with stars. Its waters move slowly through the darkness, just as they did for the children of ancient Egypt, and just as they would long after those children had grown old. The villages are asleep. The workshops are silent. The fields rest beneath the moonlight. The day's labor is finished. The ovens have cooled. The last lamps have gone dark. Inside simple mud-brick homes, families sleep close together. Parents, children, grandparents, brothers and sisters. The breathing of the household rises and falls softly in the darkness. Somewhere, a child who spent the day carrying water sleeps peacefully. Somewhere, a young apprentice dreams after a long day in a crowded workshop. Somewhere, a fisherman's son rests beside nets that will be cast again with the morning light. And somewhere, a girl who helped bake bread before sunrise sleeps beneath the same stars that watched over her ancestors. Their childhoods passed quietly. Not with grand celebrations. Not with yearly reminders. Not with great ceremonies marking every step. Instead, childhood moved gently through the seasons. Through dusty roads and warm mornings. Through baking bread and carrying baskets. Through river breezes and long afternoons beneath the sun. Through listening, learning, helping, and growing. The years arrived softly. And they departed softly too. Like ripples spreading across calm water. Like sunlight fading from a field at dusk. Like the Nile itself, moving onward without hurry. Yet those childhoods mattered. The small moments mattered. The ordinary days mattered. The shared meals. The quiet lessons. The patient work. The simple routines repeated again and again. Together, they formed entire lives. Lives that history rarely recorded. Lives that unfolded far from palaces and monuments. Lives lived beside the river. Now the Nile continues its endless journey through the night. The reeds whisper gently in the breeze. The stars shimmer overhead. The ancient villages fade into darkness. The fields disappear beneath moonlight. The voices of the past grow softer and softer. Until only the river remains. Flowing quietly beneath the stars. Steady. Timeless. Peaceful. And as the cool night settles over the water, the ancient world drifts gently into silence. The river moves on. The stars shine above. And the long, quiet story of childhood beside the Nile comes to rest beneath the calm embrace of the Egyptian night. Sleep well.